Stay frosty and head over to ezmutt.com for the cheapest mutt coins on the market. When I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $40. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the Director. Chargers fans, week 1 is in the books. An awesome game, but as I predicted, it was a very defensive-oriented game. I'm thinking week 2, where the Chargers face up against the Dallas Cowboys, could be even crazier. An offensive explosion. To paint a picture, right now the Chargers are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under of 55. This kind of speaks to how high-powered of an offense the Dallas Cowboys have, as well as the Los Angeles Chargers. This game could really be the Chargers' first shootout game in their 2021 season. I'm predicting a lot of points to be scored on Sunday, which honestly offers a lot of entertainment value to both fandoms. So, should be a really good one today, guys, but we do have a lot to go over. Lots of injuries on both sides with the Cowboys and the Chargers. Lots of things as far as like how the Chargers going to win this game with such a high-powered offense on the opposite side. It should be a good time. Now, before we do get started, as a reminder, we got a giveaway going on right now. I'm giving away this signed Antonio Gates jersey to one of my lucky subscribers as a thank you to supporting this channel. All you gotta do is hit the link in the description, follow the instructions there. Very simple to enter, and make sure you are subscribed. Only subs can win. But of course, we like to do giveaways in twos on this channel. We're also giving away this signed LaDainian Tomlinson. It's the giveaway of goats to one of my lucky crew members. All you got to do to be entered for this one is be a member of my crew. That's it. Again, guys, thank you so much to everybody for all the support. Hopefully these go to a good home. And with that, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers versus Cowboys home opener game preview. It should be a good one today, guys. Honestly, there's so much to unpack. Let's just jump right into the injuries. Okay, there are a lot. Nobody panic. Okay, maybe panic a little bit. There's a lot to go over in this week's injury report, dudes. Guys, take a look at the Chargers side first, okay? We'll go through this one by one a little bit. Nasir Adderley, groin injury. I think he returned to the game last week, so I'm expecting him to come back. Brian Bulaga will circle back around to. Kyle Fackrell got limited practice in. Chris Harris, I'm guessing, should be fine. Derwin James did get a full practice in, and then Tristan Vizcaino is dealing with an illness. I do expect him to start as well. So nothing too crazy for the Chargers as far as injuries, on the surface. But we did see a tweet just before I started recording this video. The Chargers this morning signed Michael Schofield back to the squad and placed Brian Bulaga on injured reserve. Well, we knew this was going to happen at some point, right? We knew the Chargers could not make it through the full season without losing at least one offensive lineman, which kind of really sucks. Honestly, Brian Bulaga, this Chargers offensive line was starting to finally look really complete, very dominant. Of course, they were very, very efficient last week versus the Washington football team. And to lose Brian Bulaga immediately, I think he played maybe like one half of football, is very, very disappointing. At the time, Brian Bulaga, the signing, seemed very excited, but he can't stay healthy, which is very, very unfortunate. I do expect this to be the last season that he plays with the Los Angeles Chargers. But before we do panic, I do want to point out that I think the Chargers have a plan for this, okay? You guys will take a look here at the Chargers offensive line on the depth chart. With Brian Bulaga out, Storm Norton is his immediate backup, okay? And we signed Michael Schofield, again, as a backup for this squad. However, I think the signing of Matt Filer is going to come into play here, okay? Matt Filer, of course, very efficient guard for the Chargers. Also played a lot of right tackle for the Pittsburgh Steelers, of which he was also very effective. So what I'm thinking is that the Chargers are going to move Matt Filer to right tackle and then maybe promote Brendan Hymus to left guard, which Jameis has been very, very efficient throughout camp and in the preseason. So I think the Chargers do have their bases covered, but this is something I was hoping they wouldn't have to put into effect, at least so soon. I did expect Brian Bulaga at some point to be dealing with these sort of complications, but it is nice to have Matt Filer on the roster. That's what I expect to happen, but it's also a possibility for Storm Norton to get the start on Sunday, which Norton was okay. He was all right on Sunday too. So I'll have to wait and see what the Chargers decide to do there. But a big part of the storyline as far as injuries are concerned, that was the Chargers. Let's talk a little bit about the Dallas Cowboys, okay? The Cowboys, I mean, it's hard to be sympathetic to another fan base. I get that, right? But the Cowboys, man, you can't help but feel for them. These guys are dropping like flies out there. And of course, we never, ever, ever wish injury upon any player in the NFL, you know, rival or tough team or not. But the Cowboys are going to be dealing with a lot of injuries, which will give the Chargers a bit of an edge on Sunday, okay? Now, DeMarcus Lawrence, I think a broken foot. I think he's out indefinitely. Their best defensive player, in my opinion, for the Cowboys, he's not going to be playing, and that's going to open up some opportunities for this Chargers, you know, offense to maybe have a little bit more time in the pocket to execute some big plays, okay? Additionally, though, they do not have Michael Gallup at the time. You know what? Let's actually go over here to my Twitter. I did tweet something about this the other day. Also, prayers up for my little bro right here, man. He's going through some stuff. It's been a crazy week, okay? Taking a look here at the Cowboys players. Marcus Lawrence out 6 to 8 weeks. Michael Gallup's on IR. Zach Martin, I think he is returning from the COVID-19 reserve. Randy Gregory is also out. La'el Collins is suspended. These guys have a lot of big names that will not be suiting up on Sunday. And this is going to, again, open up opportunities for the Chargers in the way they attack this defense and in the way they defend against Dak Prescott and this Dallas Cowboys offense. So there is a lot going on here as far as injuries in week 2. KZ over here too did get a limited practice. This is one to keep an eye on because they played KZ in the box a lot last Sunday. I would expect them to do that a lot this Sunday if he is fully healthy, okay? So keep that all in mind. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, again, I'll go ahead and show you here the injured reserve list. Kind of intense, right? Gallup and DeMarcus Lawrence not suiting up on Sunday. So the next thing we want to kind of go over is the keys to victory. Okay, maybe this is what we'll start calling the segment. The Chargers keys to victory on Sunday, which we're going to point out a couple of different matchups that the Chargers can maybe try and exploit and find a way to win this game, which again, I think is going to be a very high scoring game from both teams. And honestly, maybe a bit of a close one. Again, the over under 2.5 point favorites for the Chargers with a 55 over and under is absolutely ludicrous. It should be high scoring and still very close. So keys to victory. The first thing we want to point out here is Joey Bosa. Now, last week, Joey Bosa had a pretty decent week, be it the penalties that he does have to clean up. It's a new kind of stricter NFL season as far as roughing the passer, which we've seen a lot of examples of through week 1 and even yesterday in the first game, week 2. With the Washington football team again, this time versus the New York Giants. Either way, Joey Bosa is probably going to be going up against Terrence Steele at right tackle. La'el Collins is suspended, and I do think just recently their other backup, Ty Nishke, I think is how you say his name, went down with a heat-related illness on Sunday. So they're going all the way down, I think, to their third string right tackle who will be facing up against Joey Bosa. We saw a lot of good things last Sunday in the Brandon Staley new defensive scheme, freeing up Joey Bosa, getting a lot of pressures and a sack. I do think Bosa is going to have a pretty decent week this week. I do think maybe we'll throw some hot takes in there along the way. I think Bosa is good for at least 2 sacks this week, and I do think he's going to be a big difference maker as far as the Chargers defense versus the Dallas Cowboys. Again, this offensive line for the Cowboys, not in a good way right now. They will have Zach Martin back, but outside of that, they're missing some very crucial pieces, even when it comes down to backups, okay? Next thing the Chargers probably should look at is defending against Ezekiel Elliott, okay? Zeke versus the Chargers defensive line is going to be something that Dallas probably tries to exploit a little bit. Last week, the Chargers gave up, close to like 5 yards per carry to Antonio Gibson, and I do see Zeke as a better talent than Antonio Gibson, both through the air and on the ground. So Zeke is probably going to cause this Chargers defense a few headaches. If I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to be attacking the Chargers as much much as possible on the ground, which again puts the Chargers in a situation where they want to stay ahead as much as possible. As soon as the Dallas Cowboys get the lead, they're probably going to let Ezekiel Elliott carry the ball a lot more, which honestly, if Antonio Gibson was getting 5 yards to carry, I can easily see around the same, if not more, for Ezekiel Elliott. So the Chargers, maybe they got something in their back pocket to slow down Ezekiel Elliott if they decide to feed him. But at the same time, it's something the Chargers defense has to be a little bit concerned about and plan for. Okay, Zeke, he's probably going to be the center point of that offense this week. If not, we still do have to worry about Dak Prescott and those wide receivers. Speaking of which, the Chargers wide receivers. Let's talk about these guys really quick, okay? The Chargers wide receiver. Actually, you know what? I do have this on my notes. I just forgot to grab a graphic, okay? Derwin and Davis versus Amari and CeeDee Lamb, okay? The Dallas wide receivers, very, very talented. They don't have Michael Gallup, but this duo of Lamb and Amari, one of the best in the entire NFL. Now, I can expect the Chargers to roll out there with Derwin James and Mike Davis, maybe see a couple of different plays from James and maybe even CHJ in the star position, but still, again, the Cowboys offense, guys, I hate to say it, it's very efficient. They have a lot of talent on offense between Dak, the receivers, and Ezekiel Elliott. So the Chargers do need to come up with something in order to slow that down a little bit. I think whichever defense can kind of clutch up a little bit and limit the other offense just a little bit might be able to take the lead and get the edge in trying to grab that win this week, okay? So we got to watch out for Amari. We got to watch out for CeeDee Lamb. What about the Chargers wide receivers? Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. This is a part, the Dallas Cowboys defense and their secondary more specifically. This is a facet of their team that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week really did take advantage of. Okay, more specifically in Anthony Brown. Okay, Anthony Brown, their cornerback. This is where I think the Chargers are going to attack through the air a lot. They're going to be targeting into Anthony Brown as much as possible. I do think Trevon Diggs, their cornerback one, is very good. He was able to limit Mike Evans to like one catch, and I think he got an interception last week as well. I can expect Trevon Diggs to be on Keenan Allen for most of the game. Even that being said, I think, Keenan Allen is definitely the kind of wide receiver that can beat that matchup and honestly still be an impact in this game. But I do think that Mike Williams should see a pretty big day versus Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown gave up over 100 yards and a touchdown last week. Passer rating of like 150 something. Kind of insane. I do think Mike Williams is going to see another big opportunity to capitalize against this, let's say, patchy secondary of the Dallas Cowboys. So the Chargers, key to victory, I think the Chargers are going to attack through the air quite a bit this week. And again, I think we're going to lean on Mike Williams more often than not. Still, look for Keenan Allen out there. Like I said before, I think when you're talking Keenan Allen versus Trevon Diggs, give the win to Keenan Allen. He's still going to be a factor out there, okay? Now, let's circle back around to some of these injuries, too, okay? Let's actually take a look here. We're taking a look at Leighton Vander Esch in this photo for a reason. The next big thing key to victory is going to be Terrell Basham and Dorrance Armstrong, which are the ends for the Dallas Cowboys defense, versus the Chargers O-line. Now, the Chargers O-line did take a hit today with Brian Bulaga going down, but equally, the Dallas Cowboys are in a bad way, sending out their backups to face against the Chargers offensive line, which honestly, what did they give up? Like 5 pressures that entire game? 1 sack that entire game versus a much better defensive line versus Washington. Now, the reason that we've got Leighton Vander Esch up is because I think Leighton Vander Esch is going to be seen a lot more in the Mike position for the Dallas Cowboys defense, and they're probably going to try and supplement that pass rushing role to a Micah Parsons a lot more this week. Okay, Micah Parsons, I think, is a capable edge defender. I think they're going to maybe send him after the quarterback a little bit more often than not, especially more often than last week. I do think that they're going to try and still get after Justin Herbert using Micah Parsons, which again is going to open up an opportunity for Leighton Vander Esch to get in there and play Mike linebacker. So keep that in mind, but still, I do give the edge to the Chargers in this instance. The Chargers offensive line, maybe even with the Brian Bulaga injury, still looks really, really, really good. And without DeMarcus Lawrence, I think the Cowboys are really going to struggle to generate pressure versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay? Next up, we got to talk a little bit about the Cowboys fans. This one kind of hurts me, right? I know what to kind of expect on Sunday. If you're in or around the Los Angeles area, you'll know that there's still a lot of Cowboys fans. For whatever reason, there's a lot of Cowboys fans in the LA area, and I do expect there to be a big turnout of Cowboys fans to this game in our home opener. I've seen a lot of stuff online that there's a lot of Cowboys fans traveling for this game. All I'm going to say, guys, if you're a Chargers fan, go out there and represent. And this is kind of an image I took from Rogue One. Make 10 men feel like 100. Okay, get out there and scream your minds out. The Chargers, in this instance, I'm hoping at least get a 50-50 shot at a home field advantage as far as the crowd is concerned. But if you're out there, man, and you're a Chargers fan, one, thank you so much for representing and being out there. And two, make sure you warm up those lungs, warm up those voices before game day, because that's going to be a really crazy one versus, honestly, a very rambunctious fan base. Okay? Next up, let's take a look at Austin Ekeler. I would like to see Ekeler more involved in this game, okay? I think Ekeler's more than capable of generating yards on the ground. I think, again, we can look at him, maybe try and get that run game going a little bit earlier in this game, seeing as, you know, how dominant the pass is going to be throughout the game versus Dallas's secondary. I think there's a place for Ekeler in this week's game plan, right? I want to see him get more involved, even if it is through the air. Last week, he did not see a single target through the air. I think that needs to change this week. He's one of the more, you know, efficient offensive weapons we've got on this team, and I'd like to see him utilized that way. Still, the Chargers have some really good wide receivers. They got Jared Cook out there. I can see reasoning why we didn't involve Ekeler as much as we thought, but still, Joe Lombardi coming from the New Orleans Saints, he knows what a receiving back could do, the kind of damage a receiving back can do. I hope he does utilize Ekeler the same way this week in what should be a very high-scoring game. Okay? So Ekeler, let's get him involved. Next up, red zone efficiency. The Chargers last week did not look too good when it came to scoring in the red zone. I think they had 2 out of 6 trips. They had 6 trips in the red zone and only scored touchdowns on 2 of them. You would like to see that a lot higher, so especially this week where we need to keep up with Dallas and their high-scoring offense as well. So look for Jared Cook in the red zone. Look for Mike Williams in the red zone. Make sure to capitalize on red zone opportunities this week. It's going to be one of the most important games outside of maybe like the Kansas City Chiefs games that we play this season. That's going to be important to actually score touchdowns. We need to keep up with Dallas. They're going to be scoring touchdowns. They've got the weapons. The Chargers must keep up. Of course, the Chargers secondary, the Chargers defense, if they can help out and if they can do their job, it should help the Chargers get the lead and maintain the lead. But I'm still saying, even if we got a 2-score lead, keep your foot on the gas, step on their throats, make sure they can't come from behind, because their offense is more than capable of doing that. So don't let up in the red zone. Find a way to score. Find a way to get 6, okay? Next up, we got to talk a little bit about the drops from last week. Last week, I think the Chargers dropped something like 6 passes, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and chalk that up to rust. A lot of those players did not play in the preseason. That was their first live-action football since last year. Now we're going to take a look at maybe like a Josh Palmer who did play in the preseason. He looks pretty good. Maybe get him more involved this week. I think he's slowly starting to climb the depth chart a little bit. We might see a few more looks to him this week. He got 1 for like 13 yards last week. Very, very nice. Maybe get him more involved this week, as well as he's not going to drop the ball as often. Other drops from like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams too. I do expect those to be cleaned up a little bit. But like we were saying with the red zone efficiency segment, the Chargers need to capitalize on every opportunity on offense, and dropping the ball is going to get them nowhere this week. So make sure to limit those drops and make the most out of every opportunity offensively. Okay? Next up, we got to talk a little bit about the penalties. Last week, the penalties were bad. They were really bad. I think we gave up something like 100 yards to penalties last week. And honestly, some of them are really, really bogus. We did talk a lot about that turnover with the fumble going through the end zone. That was complete BS by the refs last week. We also saw a lot of Joey Bosa getting flagged for roughing the passer. It sucks to be a pass rusher in this day and age in the NFL, does it not? Joey Bosa's just out there doing his job. Of course, in this picture, yeah, you don't want to target under the waist like that. That's probably going to get you a flag. But still, Joey Bosa and the entire defense need to limit those penalties. The offense as well did get called a couple times last week. So if the Chargers can clean up those penalties, try to play a nice, clean game, get in and out with as few penalties as possible, I think it can create an edge over the Dallas Cowboys. So really, really pay attention to that, and hopefully we can get the edge there as well. The final key to victory in this game, and of course, a lot of you are probably waiting for this segment right here. Unleash the Herb. Justin Herbert. Herbie unleashed. This is what needs to happen on Sunday. Herbert needs to go out there, and the Chargers coaching staff and scheming, all that kind of stuff, they need to let him cook. Let Herbert cook, whether it's Jared Cook, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Ekeler. Let him pass the ball like crazy. Let him put up over 350 yards this week. Let him score 3 or 4 touchdowns. you're really going to have to put the game in Justin Herbert's hands and let him go ham, man. Let him do his thing. Lean on Justin Herbert, your franchise quarterback, to go and win this game. It's very important. I know the defensive aspect of this game could definitely tilt the outcome in our favor. If they can go out there and do their job and limit the Cowboys, then of course I think the Chargers have a really, really good opportunity to win this game. But I do think this is going to be a shootout. And in order to keep up in a shootout, in order to keep up in a high-scoring game, you got to let your quarterback do his thing. And we know what Justin Herbert's capable of. We know what he can do when the coaching staff trusts him. And if last week was any indication, I think the Chargers are ready to do so. The Chargers were taking more risks. They were definitely, maybe a little more ballsy on offense. And I do think, especially in their scheming and their game plan, I do think that they're going to allow Justin Herbert to do this. And I do think Justin Herbert puts up one of his best weeks in the 2021 season versus the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be pretty crazy, man. It's going to be pretty crazy. Now, finally, the last part, the last segment here. One that I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for, because last week we got the score absolutely perfectly predicted. Last week I predicted a 20-16 score versus the Washington football team. This week, a lot of pressure, right? A lot of pressure on the score prediction. So here we go. What is the director's score prediction for the Chargers versus the Dallas Cowboys at home in our home opener? Here's my prediction. The Chargers, 34. Cowboys, 27. Yeah, we got the Chargers winning this one, man. I do think the Chargers have an edge. Again, Dallas, they're going through a lot of injury problems. It's going to create a lot of opportunities for the Chargers to capitalize and try and grab that win. But more than anything, I think the Chargers are going to realize they got to put up a ton of points this week in order to keep up with Dallas. And as long as they can consistently stay ahead of Dallas, I think the Chargers do have a shot at closing this one out. It will be a close game. Don't get me wrong. Again, the Chargers are 2.5-point favorites right now. But at the same time, I think the Chargers have all the tools to stay ahead of Dallas and try and keep this one in the win column, okay? So in the comment section, what do you guys think the final prediction is going to be as far as the score is concerned in week 2 for the Los Angeles Chargers? And how do you think the Chargers should attack Dallas, both offensively and defensively, in this week's matchup? Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been the Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.